I've had these snowshoes for 12 years. 12 years. And I'm telling you, time flies. So anyway, today I'd like to do a short review video on these snowshoes, briefly go over what they are, why I chose them, what they've been through, and how well they've held up for me over the last 12 years. These are the Tubbs Flex Alpine Series snowshoes, and I bought these in the winter season of 2008 and 2009. My name is Justin, welcome to What's Good in the Woods, and let's talk about these snowshoes. But first I feel like we need some backstory. These snowshoes right behind me right here, I bought these over 20 years ago. I wasn't even old enough to drink when I bought these, so I know for sure that they're over 20 years old. I was hiking in the backcountry a lot and skiing down the glades. You know, we'd be hiking up into these mountains in the backwoods and we'd just go skiing down. And we did that for years. I bought these because they were light, I could pack them on my backpack easy, and they were cheap. You know, I was like 17, 18 years old when I bought these, so didn't have a ton of money, and this is what I ended up with. They worked great, and I used them for what we used them for, and I loved it. That was a great period of time in my life. We had a lot of fun in those mountains skiing those years. But in the winter of 2007, I started hiking in the mountains a lot more, in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, up above the tree line, and just really started getting into that. That season, I used these snowshoes, and they worked, but they definitely are not the best snowshoes for those conditions. In the winter season of 2008, 2009, I had some big plans. I knew that I wasn't going to be working. I knew I was going to spend as much time as I could in the mountains. And I knew that I wanted a pair of snowshoes that were specifically designed for that type of adventure. The two options that I was considering at the time were the Tubbs and the MSR Lightning Ascents. These snowshoes right here. Which are awesome. Anyway, what it came down to for me was the price. When I walked into EMS, Eastern Mountain Sports, that day to buy my snowshoes, these were on sale for $150, about half the price of those. So I shelled out the money for these, and I don't regret it one bit. There's pros and cons to each shoe, but this video is not intended to be a comparison video between these. I ended up with these shoes and I was really happy about it. So at this point, my shoes have been purchased. These are mine. I'm super pumped about it. So let's just go over real briefly what exactly these are. These are the Tubbs Flex series, the Alp version, and they have a lot of flex to them, which is why they're called the Flex series. And that flex is really, really handy when you're up above the tree line, walking amongst a whole bunch of boulders and rime ice, and it's really nice to have that movement and range of motion when you're walking over really uneven ground. That's where these things shine. That's the beauty of them. These snowshoes are made and designed with pretty much one thing in mind, and that is going up in mountainous terrain. These shoes are not made for flotation and long flat walks in the woods. They do provide some flotation, but not much. Their primary focus is going up in mountainous terrain. And that's why you see a lot of people wearing these shoes in the mountains. That's what they're for. They have very aggressive tracks. They've got a very aggressive and big front toe crampon. These are some pretty gnarly shoes. They give you a lot of purchase in those wintry conditions in the mountains. They have elevators, and these are very handy for when you're going up steep grades. It helps reduce that angle. It's quite nice. It's a really handy feature right there that has become quite common on a lot of different snowshoes these days. And I don't really want to go over the binding system because this binding system is old and they don't use it anymore, so there's not much of a point. They do still make this model of shoe, and the binding is a little bit different. I'm assuming that they've improved it over time, but I don't really know. I wouldn't imagine that they'd want to make it worse. But this binding system has always worked for me. Now, some of the drawbacks of these shoes are that they're heavy. You know, it's about 4.5, almost 5 pounds. These are the 24-inch models. Now, that's about 2 pounds heavier than the MSR Lightning Ascents. Also, these things don't really pack down all that flat. I try and wear snowshoes as little as possible when I'm in the mountains because they're big and they're cumbersome and they're heavy on your feet, and it just, you know, it's kind of awkward. It's much easier for me to walk without them, so I prefer to. I put them on when I need them, but when I don't need them, they're in my pack. Those are pretty much your packing options, like so. So the Tubbs are quite a bit heavier, and they don't pack as flat as the MSR Lightning Ascents. but that doesn't take away from the fact that they're still a great shoe. So let me tell you about what these shoes have been through. As I previously stated, I bought these in the winter of 2008 and 2009, and that winter was the winter that I did my first New Hampshire single season 48. I hiked every single one of New Hampshire's 4,000 footers that year in one winter season, and these shoes were the shoes that I did it in. Now, a year after that, in 2009, 2010, I started picking away at the 4,000 footers of Vermont and Maine. Fast forward to the winter season of 2011, 2012, I was back at it in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. And I did another New Hampshire single season 48 with Randy Pierce. That winter, blind hiker Randy Pierce was attempting his single season 48, and I was fortunate enough to be a part of that process. And that winter was the most rewarding winter of my life. That adventure was amazing. It was insane, and it changed the course of my life. There was a documentary being made on Randy's attempt at this challenge that year, and the person that filmed it and made it later became my wife. I mean, that winter changed everything for me. And then the winter after that, I picked off my remaining Maine 4,000 footers to give me the New England 67 in the winter. So I have successfully climbed all 67 4,000 plus foot mountains of New England in the winter, all with these shoes. And then after that, I just stopped keeping track. I'm not hiking any more lists now. I'm not badge hunting. I'm just hiking hikes that I want to hike because I want to hike them. As proud of those accomplishments as I am, I'm not talking about them to be boastful or brag. I'm just letting you guys know that that's what these shoes have been through over the last 12 years. Hundreds of peaks, hundreds upon hundreds of miles, and I don't even know how many tens of thousands of feet of elevation, but these things have been used a lot, and I've never had one single issue. Actually, let's talk about the issues, because that's not true. The straps, right here, they used to have little snaps, so that you could snap them together so that the ends wouldn't be kicking around and flopping around all over the place. Those blew out almost immediately within a hike or two. And I remember that because it was very nerve-wracking to me. I was like, wow, did I just buy a junk pair of snowshoes? At any rate, that's the last issue I ever had with them, ever. Until I started looking them over just a couple hours ago, which is in part what inspired this review. The snowshoe was put together with 16 of these rivets. And over the course of time, one of them has let go. I don't even know when this happened. I just noticed it. So I could have been hiking in these for years with this shoe like this and never noticed it. I doubt it. I'd like to think that I would have noticed, but maybe not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the local hardware store and I'm going to put together a repair kit, see if I can't get some spare parts. Because if one is blown out, I'm sure that others are soon to follow. There's a lot of stress getting put on those rivets with all that flexing, so I'm surprised more haven't blown out. It's only on one shoe. Can't really complain after 12 years of some pretty serious use. I think that's it. I didn't want to go too crazy on the details. I just want to report my experience with these shoes over the last 12 years. Given my experience with these shoes, I would highly recommend these to anyone that is considering getting them. These are solid, bomb-proof shoes that are going to last for a really, really long time. And as a matter of fact, I have recommended these shoes to quite a few people in the past, and nobody's complained about them yet. However, at 4.5 to 5 pounds, they're kind of bulky and heavy. So if lightweight and packability, streamline is more your concern, maybe you want to consider these. Now these are my wife's, and she bought these a year before I bought mine. These are 13 years old. They've been used a lot over the years. I know it. I've seen it. And I gotta say, I'm pretty jealous of how light these are. Again, not really made for flotation, but going up in mountainous terrain, these things are the bomb, and they're 2 pounds lighter than these. Now, I've taken quite the fancy to these shoes over the last couple of years because I'm really starting to focus on weight. Prior to the last couple of years, I never really cared about weight at all. And honestly, even if I did at the point in time in my life where I bought these, I wouldn't have been able to afford them. Now, by today's prices and standards, a pair of MSR Lightnings is going to cost you anywhere from $350 to $370, where the Tubbs are going to be about $250-ish, from what I've seen, $250 to $270. So there's a $100 difference there. And you're going to be paying a little bit more for the convenience of less weight. But again, not a comparison video between these two shoes. I'm a gear junkie. I got distracted, kind of went down the rabbit hole there a little bit. My apologies. I can't help myself. These things right here, they're awesome. They've taken 12 years of pounding from me, and they haven't let me down yet. So there you have it, folks. If you're considering a pair of Tubbs Flex Series, by all means, be confident that what you're going to buy is going to last you for years and years and years. You'll be enjoying them for years to come. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your support. My name is Justin. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll talk to you next time.